Greetings and thanks for taking the time to tune into my BS. This is episode 12 titled An Email Exchange with Leslie, PR and Marketing Today, Black Cultural Achievements, and books titled The End of. This was an actual email exchange with one of my wacky coworkers at A4Media. It's between Leslie and myself. And she starts off with, "Take care of this for me now and just get it done." To which I replied, "Oh, yes, I have to placate my type A personality friend again with instant gratification." And she replies, "Yep." To which I reply, "I'll do the best I can. We do have a lot going on today, plus I have a 90-minute webinar I have to attend." She replies, "Fine, multitask, do it while you're on the webinar. Oh, I forgot you're a man." To which I replied, "Okay, I'll drop everything right now. Screw everyone else who needs assistance, whether it be another account executive or manager. And oh, that's right, you're a woman." To which she replies, "Thank you, now you're thinking." To which I reply, "I pray for your husband, that poor soul." She replies, "As you should." And I reply back saying, "Praying may not be enough. He needs to be emancipated. I'll work on the details." To which she says, "I told him to get a girlfriend." My reply is, "He is protected by the Constitution, or do you override that too?" She finally stopped and I admitted I was wasting time. One of the major obstacles in modern society today is that public relations and marketing surpass intelligent dialogue, debate, and integrity, more so now than ever in the past. The consequences of this, everything becomes bullshit, and there are way too many voices coming from social media, including myself, of course. It's a veritable zoo now, and exhausting. Two American cultural achievements of note are jazz and Southern literature. Both have roots in the South, and both have ties with the grotesque injustices of slavery, racism, and murder in the 19th and 20th century. Somehow, beyond incomprehensible circumstances and cruelty, rural blacks created some of the most innovative and original music styles in history. If you toss in the athletic prowess of blacks in virtually every global sport and their contributions to theater, cinema, music, comedy, business, government, in the past century or more, you start to wonder if the white man's feelings of superiority was being masked, and quite the contrary. Perhaps whites knew that hidden in blacks was a startling creativity and physical strength and endurance that was intimidating. Our country owes an indelible debt to blacks, and trying to imagine our country without them is basically inconceivable. It would not be the same country that it is now, and what blacks have contributed to our country is immeasurable. I get a kick out of all the books that were published in the past 25 years or so that begin with the words "the end of." And here's a sample. The end of power. It's a long one. The end of illness, the end of sex, the end of war, the end of men, the end of free markets, the end of money, the end of history, the end of lawyers, the end of nature, the end of education, the end of leadership, the end of white America, the end of poverty. I guess that the next end of book will be the end of everything, and let's end the end ofs. Get tired of that one. I've heard this comment 1,000 times or more. Men don't understand women. We don't. Nobody does. Women don't understand women. Not sure God does either, and He created them. But, and it's a long but, what would the world be without them? They're the mothers of the world. We wouldn't be around if it wasn't for them, and they have to deal with us too, and that's no easy task. And there was a saying I once heard, which is worth repeating. God created one thing that was better than a woman, and He kept that for Himself. Now I wonder, what was it that He created that was better than a woman? Empathy is an extremely important and crucial word in our language. If you lack empathy, you're going to struggle with your existence on this planet one way or another. And Joni Mitchell once said this, and I'm a big fan of Joni Mitchell. "It's much easier to be an artist who paints than being a musician. She knows that she's done both. Once the artist finishes the painting, they display it and they're done. They don't have to recreate the painting again, but a musician is never done. They have to compose the song, practice it when it's written, and constantly recreate their work while performing publicly or recording. A musician's work is never done." A few years ago, my son got a job at a local pub restaurant, and then one of his friends got a job at the same restaurant. So I told him that at first I had one reason not to eat at the restaurant. Now I have two reasons. I once asked my wife if failure was an option here, and she said no. So I told her to count me out. That was the only option I was looking for. They say that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Yeah, try telling that to a paraplegic. Progress is becoming a major problem in the world. And this is a very complex and deep issue, and I don't want to go too far into this, but I feel that progress doesn't need to be an endless continuum and that it can also get out of control. And economic growth is a concept that needs to be analyzed, studied, and reeled in. We'll never see the economic growth that we witnessed from post-World War II to 1972. And I'll leave it at that. And I find that Europe seems to manage this whole progress thing a bit better than we do. Here it's an obsession. While spending a long weekend in Chesapeake Bay a few summers ago, we attended a crab festival in which for $25 you could sample about 15 different restaurant offerings. Some of them were quite good, but a few of them fell short, as is expected. One local provider was named Suicide Bridge, and after my wife and I critiqued their disappointing crab bisque, I told her that if I was on their very own bridge, I would gladly jump. My apologies to the chef, owner, and other staff at SB. I'm sure that it was a reputable restaurant, but the bisque was not up to par. And then at the very same festival, we stepped into a local art gallery that was so incredibly upper crust, stuffy, and bourgeois that I fully expected to run into Fraser and Niles there. Some Americans are so spoiled, so out of touch with reality, and just how fortunate they are that they view death as optional. Unbelievable. And knowledge is a big subject, but ignorance is an even bigger subject and probably more interesting. There should be much more research on this subject, on ignorance. And Jorge Luis Borges was a complicated man. He hated being interviewed and yet seemed to handle them with grace and wit. The point being that he was simply not at odds with the public persona, but that he felt profoundly at odds with how little he was at odds with it. And I'll stop here. See you next time.